Hey everybody, it's Ken McElroy here, and as everybody's been wanting, I've got my partner Ross McCallister on. He and I are both MC companies, and we get lots and lots of questions about our partnership, and so I figured this is a great opportunity to get Ross on during this lockdown and pandemic, and and talk about a couple things. One, how we got together, but also what makes a good partnership. Because in all honesty, guys, Ross and I. We have a lot of fun. We laugh a lot. He is honestly one of my best buddies and like a brother. And, there's a lot of reasons. And, mostly it's because he puts up with me. But, I'll tell you, he's a lot more patience than I do. That's for sure. But let's get right into it. Ross, welcome.
Hi, Kenny. How you doing today?
Good. So a lot of people have heard from me. And, I have a tendency to maybe not remember everything or even make stuff up sometimes. A lot of people know about MC companies, in general. Obviously, we've done a good job together with the team building their big brand. I would love to hear from your perspective, how we met and, and what we did from there, because I think we've done a hell of a job building a brand. And remember, we were just talking about this last week. I'm like, I never in my wildest dreams would have guessed that we would have a team of folks running our company as good as they are. So let's start at the beginning.
All right. So I think I was thinking about this a little bit ago. I think we met sometime around 87, 88. And we met on the board of directors of the Arizona MultiHousing Association. And if I remember, I think you were still with Mark Taylor in those days.
Yep, I was president of Mark Taylor.
Yeah. So we knew each other from that. And because of our relationship there, we had we got to know each other socially, and we liked each other, as I remember. And we did some parties and we had some fun, and we had that nice trip to Atlanta with the Diamondbacks, remember?
Oh yeah, we were on that jet with all the
with the Diamondbacks.
Diamondbacks.
Yeah, and that was sponsored by Arizona Republic, and so we got together socially and got to know each other through that. So, and then after period of time after you left Mark Taylor, you went to started your own company, McElroy Management, and there were some, because I was in Tucson and you were in Phoenix. We weren't really we didn't feel like we were competitors, and we were felt close enough that we could talk to each other about various things. So we would talk every now and then about employee relations or insurance, or what are you doing? What are you doing about auto expenses or whatever else that would come up. And one day you called me up and said, "Hey, I'm looking at a deal down in Tucson to buy a management company or to joint venture with a management company." You told me who it was. I said, "I know the guy real well. I was actually partners with him back in the early 80s when I first moved to Tucson." And I said to you then, I said, "The problem you're going to have with him is he's a good guy, but I don't think he has the kinds of properties that you're going to be interested in." There were smaller little apartment plate deals, and he did a lot of historic renovations and stuff. I said to you, "If you're interested in talking about coming to Tucson, I'm always wanted to get up to Phoenix. I've made one venture into Phoenix, which was not all that successful, with your old buddy Gene."
Gene the dancing machine.
And Gene with the heated towel rack in Glendale, Arizona.
Yeah, exactly right. We could do a whole podcast on Gene.
Yeah. Lost my train of thought. So I said, "If you're interested in coming to Tucson, I'd be interested in talking to you about coming to Phoenix, joint venturing with you, because I'd like to be in that market up there." I remember that we went to coffee after an AMA board meeting, and I pretty much left there with a deal.
Yeah, I know. And so before we jump into the next piece, what I want to tell everybody is, because I always say you got to get involved. And so what was how you and I met and how we became good friends before this was that we we were in this exact same business. We were actually, if you really think about it, we were competitors, but not really. And that's that's the cool part about even today with that. When the country went on lockdown, do you remember like all these like management companies stepped up and all these owners stepped up and we were on that big email chain, like this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, right.
Like people don't realize, sometimes they look at competitors and they're like, okay, it's a very limiting mindset. So, but you and I were both on this board and we were talking pretty openly about management contracts and fees and employees and just like I do with all my, I guess competitors even today, but that's how our company's gotten better. If we both wouldn't have been committed to learning and to be part of something bigger than, our own individual company, we would have never met at the AMA. Right.
Right. And I think that's the lesson I learned from the AMA, because I had started my company in 1985 and I was basically down here by myself. And a couple of my managers and my wife encouraged me to get involved in the AMA, which I thought, frankly, was going to be a huge waste of money. But it really changed my way of thinking, and it changed my life dramatically, especially because of all the connections I made. I know, and deal after deal because of
So just to give somebody some flavor, it was called the Arizona MultiHousing Association, and I want to say at the time there was 25 to 30 people on the board, right?
That's pretty big.
And so that represented, I can't remember exactly, but well over 1 million units. We had maybe not just in Arizona, but we had people that were, on big companies that had national, exposure. And so when you have a board like that, that's talking about real things that are happening at the apartments level, things that are happening still today, like rent control and affordable housing and, construction, impact fees, which limit construction and all those kinds of things, and property taxes. That's all the stuff we were talking about. And it sounds super boring, but really, somebody needs to be the advocate for the industry, because that stuff will kill us. It literally makes the difference of being able to build or not build, or buy or not buy in areas, right?
Or rent or not rent.
Yeah, right.
It's a big deal, and I think it's really, I don't know anybody in this industry that you and I couldn't call up right now and ask a question and get an honest answer about. I think it's amazing how, we all are, we're competitors, but everybody knows they benefit from information and benefit from those relationships.
Yeah. I mean, I know of a number of things, like remember that big property tax fight we had, we won. We took it all the way up to the Arizona Department of Real Estate, and and we actually battled the assessor, and we won. And so that was millions and millions and millions of dollars in cash flow to the investors. And then the lease, we all kind of threw our leases together, and we hired a couple attorneys and we came up with a state lease. Things like that are important, because you take a little bit, like you and I had some good stuff in our lease, and then, maybe like PV Bell and Mark Taylor had some in their lease. And so we all took all the best. And so those are the benefits of being part of something bigger. And in this case, this is the entire reason that you and I met.
Right. If it hadn't been for that, I'm not sure we would have been able to meet.
Yeah. Well, and even if we would have met, I wouldn't have known you and you wouldn't have known me, and we probably wouldn't have done the deal. But we had, a good 6, 7, 8 years together, getting to know each other. And so that's why we made that decision over coffee, because, it was a relationship that was already being nurtured. Neither of us, I think, before that phone call even considered it. That was the interesting thing, know?
Yeah. I never would have thought of it.
Yeah. So what
was the thing it occurred to me to ask the question, and I asked the question. And one of the reasons I was able to ask that question was because I knew you, and I knew you'd tell me straight up how you felt about it.
Yeah. And honestly, for me, it was the best decision ever. Cause it's tough to run a company independently on your own with nobody to talk to. And that's essentially what both of us were doing
Right. Mm-hmm. I've always said that the best thing about being in business for yourself is being on your own, but the worst thing about it is being on your own.
Yeah, that's the truth there. So then, okay, so here we are. I'll never forget this. You guys can imagine. So we had two companies. They were about the same size, pretty close, I guess. Although you were doing construction.
I owned and managed 1,000 units in Tucson, as I remember, and you had about 4,000 units of fee management up in.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, but so I remember though, we had like 2 office managers, 2 receptionists, 2 accounting departments, 2 of everything.
Right.
And so I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting. And so we merged, which on a lot of ways went well, and a lot of ways did not go well. Right. I mean, you and I were always aligned, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
But we had some challenges on the employee side.
Yeah. But not many, actually. I mean, we had a couple of people that just couldn't handle it, and a couple of people that couldn't handle it but stayed anyway, which was the worst thing, I think, was. Yeah. And in retrospect, we should have recognized that and gave them a graceful way out. But all in all, I think it went pretty smoothly. At least it did for me, because I wasn't up there with all the
stuff. So, but here was a cool thing, guys. So I obviously had at that time 4,000 units of fee management, and Ross was a builder, owner, developer, and also did some fee management. And so, we both recognized that we both had different skill sets. Like I don't know how to build an apartment building. And, and he has done plenty of them. So that was something that he brought, and I was obviously strong in operations and property management, and that helped Ross. And so that was why we had very, very different skill sets. And I think that's the first piece. I think that's part of the reason we just kind of got out of each other's way. We said, okay, you stay in your lane, I'll stay in my lane. And, and then we would just meet in the middle for, kind of vision and growth.
I actually, that's the first thing I wrote down on my notes today was we understood what each of us had in talents and our interests, in our skill set. So we delineated responsibilities around those skill sets right away. And then we kept our distance, which I think is when I was thinking about this, I was thinking one of the reasons that we've been successful is because I live in Tucson and you live in Scottsdale or Fountain Hills, and our operation. Yeah. And so we've had no choice but to rely on each other to do what it is, to do the right thing all the time. And because of that distance, we've given each other the space to be able to do that. And I think the lesson is even if you're in the same offices, you still have to give each other the space and the ability to perform. And if you get on top, I think one of the things about partnerships that can be is when you have duplication of responsibilities, I don't see how that can work.
Yeah. So, what happens is, as you know, there's a lot of people that are partner averse, and that, in my opinion, that keeps them really small, because that means everything has to go through them and there's no delegation, and they're afraid, there's no one that can do it better than me, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I think all of us are guilty of that a little bit, and we have to get out.
I definitely am. No question.
Yeah. We have to get out of our way. But what do you think it is that makes partnership? And by the way, at this point in our career, you and I personally have seen hundreds of partnerships fall apart with people that we knew. So what do you think it was? Obviously we're going to talk about why you and I are good, but let's talk about some of from the outsider looking in, what we see on people that don't make it. What are some of the things that you see?
When you don't make it, it's because you're not aligned in the big picture. And even if you are aligned in the big picture, you're not acting towards that. And I'm thinking about my father. My father owned a Dodge dealership in Albuquerque back in the 70s. which was not a great time down at Dodge dealership because Chrysler was bankrupt. So, and he had a partner, and I think they got crossways about how about basically their lifestyles and how they diverge in lifestyles and what they should do with their money and whether they should get out of the car business. And my dad wanted to diversify, and his partner wanted to keep plowing money into the dealership. And that because of that, they got distracted from the business itself. And because of the Chrysler bankruptcy, they ended up having to sell the dealership for pennies on the dollar. So I think that's, and first and foremost, that's the thing that you have to recognize. If we're successful, what's the next step? And it's not something that they define for each other. It's not something you and I have really defined for each other, but I trust you and we trust each other that whatever the next step is, we're going to make it together, and we're going to go lockstep forward. Get what I mean?
That's a good point. Yeah. Well, I don't know how many opportunities. By the way, at this point in our career and our company, there's got to be maybe 2 or 3 times a month where people come and throw something at us, right? And here's the interesting thing. I could definitely do something on the side, and you could definitely do something on the side, but we've never really had the discussion around it, but we always bring it to each other.
Right.
And so that's what you're talking about. I know my dad had a very similar situation where he started a business, and then he brought in 2 partners. One was like a money guy, and the other was like a bigger construction guy. And the next thing, like the construction guy wanted his wife on the payroll, and then they were looking for the distributions, and they were, you know what I mean? And my dad's like, we need this money for inventory. And, and the money guys, just looking for, an exit. And my dad didn't ask the right questions in the beginning, and that partnership basically, it ceased to exist after time because they all wanted 3 very different things. My dad, right or wrong, he just really wanted to make more money and stay hardworking, because that's what my dad was a hardworking guy. The others basically, one wanted to milk it for payroll, and the other one wanted to sell for more money at some point. Could not have been more different. And that's very common.
Very common. Very common.
On the ones I've seen were, and the other thing I've seen is that people get together sometimes, and they're the same person. They're just good salespeople.
Right. I'll never forget the day that, I think it was maybe just weeks after we got together, and we went to see Jeffrey.
Oh, yeah.
We went to his office, and we were going up the elevator, and we opened the door, and here's this gorgeous, beautiful office in Scottsdale. And you turned to me and said, ours will never look like this.
I know. Yeah. I mean, right. Because it's image. It was all image. And he was, he did not last long. He had the nice office. He spent a ton of money on it. It looked like an over the top doctor's office. And I just looked around thinking, oh my gosh, I know that he's not making a ton of money right now. It's full image. And, and then we got in there, and, he's like waving his hands around, I'm like, oh my gosh. Right. And we were just looking for money at the time, and some deal flow, and he never did one deal with us.
Never did one.
Right.
Never did one.
Yeah. And so it was all show, and that was it. And so as people navigate, I think it's important in all relationships is to ask all the really tough questions up front. And I don't think a lot of people do. And luckily, you and I had a relationship. I knew your character. I knew your reputation. You knew mine. And, it's been, honestly, it's been phenomenal. It's crazy to think. I remember when our first deal, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't even believe that I'm doing a $9 million deal. You know what I mean? We'd have a pot to piss in, right?
Yeah. I know.
Right.
Right.
And now we're now we raise that in, a couple hours.
Right.
It's
like a
beyond
couple
belief.
months, I believe. I think.
I know. So, so what are some of the things like in our partnership? Do you feel like, so one, we got together, that was a risk. We worked that out, but then you could say stagnant, you can go down, you can grow, you can go out of business. There's all kinds of things, but we've been super progressive. What are some of the things from your standpoint that you think has been the reason why we're rolling?
I question your ideas, but I respect where they come from. And I'm thinking specifically about the condo conversion diversion.
I'm guilty.
Well, it turned out to be a great move for us. I mean, financially, it turned out great. And I learned a tremendous amount about lots of different things from condo conversions. And for those of you who don't know the history, when we got in business, our model was to build and or acquire apartment complexes for apartment operations. And not very soon after we got together were we, I don't want to use that word hijack, but basically that's what happened, to go do condo conversions with this guy. And we ended up doing 300 units in Portland and almost 1,000 units in Vegas, a 100 or so in Tucson, and then 2 other projects in Tucson and Scottsdale. And they were very overall, it was a financial success. One of the reasons we got out of it was because of the third partner. But that's another story. The thing that got, I was very negative about it when it started because it was a new, I didn't really understand it. All I heard about condos were a bad word, but like I said, they turned out great. But I was open-minded. I'm proud of myself for being open-minded and starting down that road with you guys, because we made some money, and I think we were able to get some seed money together that helped us be successful when the financial crisis came.
Yeah, what it did do for us, I agree with you. The partner we had with us, guys, was somebody that had done it before, and they were tough. They were tough negotiators. They'd taken companies public, and what they did do was they brought us, mezzanine money. We were doing with Lehman Brothers and Merrill Lynch, and we all of a sudden we were thrust basically into Wall Street, New York money. And then all our corporate governance is what we thought. We went from basically being, bookkeeping type organization to, CFOs and,
right.
Much more sophisticated financially. So those were the benefits, but there was a lot of pain in there too. And we made a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't do it again, but
yeah,
because it just never was. Didn't feel like me.
Yeah. The thing about that business we did a couple things. One, we strayed off of our original plan, but 2, we bought, I'm somewhere right around 2,000 units and converted them. At the end of all that, when the dust settled, we owned nothing.
Right.
That was the frustration for me. We bought 2,000 units, converted them to condos, and made a ton of money. And we paid a lot of tax and we made a lot of money, but at the end we owned nothing. And that was to me, I call it that period of my life, one big flip,
Yeah.
That's right.
We made a lot of money and we made a lot of, and we paid some tax. We paid a lot of taxes, but we didn't, when you get right down to it, we only made money because we just happened to hit the market right. We didn't do anything. I mean,
that's right. We did get really.
We managed the businesses correctly, and there's no question about that. We managed those businesses and got those units renovated and got them on the market and got them sold and did all that. But it was the only reason we made any money was because of the market. Once the market changed, forget about it.
Yeah. So we had a run from about 2001 till about 2006. Would you say?
Yeah, 6 or 7.
Yeah, and and then 2007, 2008, 2009, that was construction defect litigation.
Right.
Right.
Right. And we also bought back from our lenders a couple of properties that we were going to convert, but didn't. And
that's right. No, I know. We learned a lot. I mean, I learned so much.
Mm-hmm.
What I did learn is that the next run, which is the run we just got through, was going to be all value add, cash flow, stick to our model. And that's why we're not in big pain right now, right?
Right.
I mean, we have a lot of cash coming in every month, as long as we can keep them full. Ross and I basically got kicked out of the company, but I mean, we still meet with the whole leadership team every Tuesday for an hour and a half. But the truth is they put us in the visionary box. We don't have any direct reports anymore. We got 250 people working for us, but we don't know who they are a lot of times anymore. You know what I mean?
I do know.
Yeah, it's great. I actually love where we are, because what people don't realize is that we've evolved as a partnership. But then what we did was we brought our president of our company, Leslie Bryce, on as a partner. And so now she's taken ownership. And then, she runs the company far better than we could. But you have to get away from your ego, right?
Totally.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of people can't do.
It's been a challenge for both of us, I think, not to helicopter in. But I thought, the part of our growth, the main reason for our growth is our ability to nurture people and bring them along to be successful. And certainly in Leslie's case, that has been a key factor in where we are today.
Yeah, that's part of the thing. People get wrapped up in the ego. They need to be on the cover of a magazine. They need to be, in an article somewhere, or they need to be, out in front of everything, because that's actually more important to them than the company. And so it was actually quite easy for us to move back and let the others be the stars. But then the other thing I really liked about it is you and I now have even narrower, more specialized roles, and it feels so much better, because back in the old days, we might be talking about an employee, an investor, a property, an accounting issue, and we don't get involved in any of that anymore, and we're just kind of super focused on our own individual lanes once again.
Yeah. Making rain, basically.
Yeah, making rain. Our job is to keep the company going, and Leslie's job is very clear, and the rest of the people on the leadership team is very, very clear. Any final words on why partnerships work, Ross, and some do not?
Being open-minded and respectful of each other's opinions. I will give some people ask me all the time about what it's like to be Ken's partner. And my standard joke is it's like owning a chihuahua when the doorbell rings.
That's probably pretty accurate.
There's a bunch of noise and a lot of jumping around.
No, I know. And thank God. Oh, thank God.
I say, well, he comes up with these cockamamie ideas, and I'm like, oh man, that's the biggest load. And then I think to myself, wait a minute, maybe there's something there. So what you've done for me is to really, because I'm a pretty conservative operator, as you know, and I tend to go negative first, and you tend to go positive first. And so that we've been able, and I respect that. And because of that, because I've been able to respect that and get out of my comfort zone a little bit, we've done way more than I would have ever imagined.
Yeah. And it works the other way too. I mean, I probably would be in 17 different businesses and have, a bunch of them not making money and all those kinds of things. And you talk me out of more than, we do. So, and the point of that is I respect, that's why I bring them up to you. Cause I was like, oh, okay, well, if Ross is good with this, then it's probably pretty good. If he's not good with this, then it's over. Move on to the next one.
I think the main thing, and the second point is communication, which I think you're really good at. We talk often, we talk frankly. And so I think that's a huge part of it. I tend to be a little more introspective than you do, and so you've helped me open up and be able to communicate and be able to express my ideas and be understanding of yours. And last but not least, we don't take each other too seriously.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you guys have no idea. We basically laugh a lot, right? We're cracking jokes basically every time. I mean, we talk several times a day. Yeah, there's a lot going on. And so, we're very active, but when we do talk, we'll talk for an hour and cover, 8 or 10 things,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just a lot of stream of consciousness talk, which is, I think, really helpful.
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, Ross, as I can't wait for our next little run. You guys who don't know, we have a big lofty goals ahead of us. Our management team's put together, and you're going to see a lot of MC companies over the next 10 years. So stay tuned. As always, Ross, thanks, buddy. You are the best.
Thanks. Same to you, Kenny.